Welcome back. All right, so in the past 5 years, I've been doing videos on this channel. My opinions on certain things have changed, but my opinions on just hockey related topics have changed over the years as well. So what I've got is I've got five jersey things that have changed and three overall things that have changed, mostly since the channel started out. Mostly since the channel started out. And I'll get into those, and I'm going to talk about them, and then I'm going to put them on the board. So this will be one of those videos where I hit pause a lot. But I want to start off with five different jersey things. Now, this number 7 Canucks jersey, this is actually a Cliff Ronning, and people are gonna be like, "Wait, what?" Yes, yes, that will be one of the ones that I've changed over the years. So, starting off with number 1 on the list. So this is a Reebok. This is a made in Canada. This is one of the really nice Reebok made in Canadas. This is an Indo. They call it an Indo Adidas, right? Your Adi Zero, however you want to look at it. Basically, that when the Adidas started out, I was very anti Adidas. I was like, the Reeboks are so much better. And now years later, I'm kind of, nah, that's fine. It's been what, 4 years, and I'm perfectly fine with Adidas. The I still say if you have an option between two jerseys that look relatively the same, you have a choice between an Adidas or a Reebok like this. I would probably take the Reebok over the Adidas, but personally, I really haven't noticed a huge difference between the two in terms of the overall quality. So, in fact, if you get a Reebok replica, which is this is not, the runs you get in those Reebok replicas, I haven't found that in the Adidas they're as difficult to fix as they are with some of the Reeboks. My St. Louis Blues Winter Classic Reebok is in really rough shape, and I don't know that it's salvageable. I don't think that it is. And the worst part with that one is you can't really replace it. The good thing is, of course, I have the Adidas, which is the third. But in that case, I did kind of prefer the Reebok because I like the neckline better on the Reebok Winter Classic than on the Adidas. But I mean, other than that, it's one of those things that I used to be really, I don't like the Adidas. Well, it's an Adidas, but I got it because, and now I don't really care. I've always thought that as I got older, I'd probably get crankier. I'm starting to find that as I get older, it's probably the opposite. I'm a lot less cranky and a lot less judgmental, and that's what this list is going to end up looking like by the end of it. Player jerseys. So, kind of tying into what I'm wearing as well, the Cliff Ronning, which I'll discuss in a minute here. So, this is an example. This is an Edmonton Oilers. It's an Adidas, and of course, it's captain. It's McDavid. I always wore blanks. I was very clear that I always wore blanks, and for years because I didn't want my jerseys becoming dated, which is kind of ridiculous. So, the first jersey I ever had is right within reach. Let me just pause for a sec here. So this is the first jersey I ever owned. It's got stains, can't get out of it. The logo has actually been reattached to it. It's in really rough shape. It's an old CCM, not that you can tell because the tag's been dead for years. CCM's gone off. Well, not gone off the back, but it's yeah. So this is a pretty beat up jersey. Good thing I didn't put a name on it, or else it'll look dated, right? So yeah, that's an opinion that's changed, and yeah, I've come to realize as I've gotten new jerseys and I've replaced some of the old ones, and I do have a replacement for this jersey in the collection. I've realized how ridiculous that. Well, I like the blanks. I still buy blanks. There's two reasons I still buy the blanks where I can find them. When it comes to new players, they often get traded, and as soon as Tavares moves off to another team, you can't wear an Islanders Tavares because people get upset, and they're cheaper. So the blanks are always cheaper, and so when I'm trying to fill the collection, the blanks are a cheaper way to go. But I've not been anti-player jerseys as much as I used to because it's gonna look dated eventually, anyways. As this Vancouver jersey that I got, I've had this Vancouver jersey for about 30 years. So just to say, I've had this jersey for about 30 years. I've got a Bruins that's about the same age, and the Bruins one is in about the same shape as this one too. So, and the Flames. And they were all white jerseys because when I was starting out buying jerseys, I thought, well, the white ones look really sharp. How little I knew at the time. So this is my nice Carolina third. And who's on the back? Marty Jelena. Who's on the back of this? Cliff Ronning. So one thing that I used to hate, and I used to see this at games when they'd show people wearing jerseys, and I'd furrow my brow and I'd say, that guy never wore that jersey. You can't have a Pavel Bure with the Orca. Bure never wore the Orca. What are these people doing? Not the modern one, anyways. What are these people doing with their Wayne Gretzky's on their current Kings jerseys? And it came across as a cranky old man thing, and I've really come around on that. I wanted to have a Cliff Ronning jersey and have it be on the original CCM, and I was really, really key on that. And then this month, the Canucks store is having free customization. So you buy the jersey and then the customization's free. And it's the pro and it's nice. And so I thought I've always wanted a Cliff Ronning jersey. So I looked and they do have the skate, the Adidas skate, but that wasn't on sale. That was an extra $150. And I went, you know what? It doesn't matter. And it's something that, again, with this Jelena never wore this jersey. And when Cool Hockey had a sale last summer on a bunch of jerseys, where it was 40% off, and so if you got customization, I even talked to Ben from Ben H Sports about it, and he basically said, you know what, you get the jerseys through them with the names on them, and this is the professional level, name and number on it. He said you're getting it cheaper than you'd probably get it from me. So. And he wasn't even sure how they were making money on that sale at the time, because it was so cheaply offered, all those jerseys. So I picked some up. The duplicates I had in the collection, I sold to Clayton. Some people may know who Clayton is or isn't, but and again, that's because I know Clayton and it's not a big deal, and he got a pretty good deal on it. And I don't care anymore. It's just one of those things that, again, it's an old man thing where it's like, I don't think that's right. He never actually wore that jersey. Well, who cares? You didn't play for the Canucks, did you, Shannon? So you might as well wear wearing a jersey you never wore, because it's not like people are going to go, oh, hey, he's got a Tyler Myers jersey. Are you Tyler Myers? I don't think I'm Tyler Myers. So if I have a Myers jersey on, I don't think people are going to get us confused with each other. It's just one of those things people get mad about. Jersey fouls to me, though, are still this. There is a reverse retro Dallas Stars jersey on eBay that has Gretzky's name on the back. That is so far beyond a jersey foul. There aren't enough words to describe. And I've seen they've got from the same seller, who I'm a little concerned may not be on the up and up. the Dallas Stars reverse retro Gretzky might have been my first clue. But they also have a bunch of other jerseys with no nameplate, but they have the number 99. And I'm like, seriously, come on. 99 is Gretzky. No, he didn't play for Vegas. He didn't play, like, come on. Seriously. So there are still ones that I still think there are lines I won't cross. Like, would it be funny if I got like an Austin Matthews 34 and it was on an Oilers jersey? Yeah, it would be funny. It'd also be expensive and it wouldn't make any sense. But it also is a jersey foul. So, all right, just saying, I still qualify that as a jersey foul. All right, the fourth item, isn't that sad right there? Look at that. Look at that. Starters. So when the channel started out, I had this. This was one of my Dallas jerseys, and I was oh so proud of it. And now I have a CCM as well. The CCM's a little different, so I still have them both in the collection, and in part because I want to compare. And I don't know where to start with starters. The one thing I will say that I like about jerseys back then was how they had the logo on the back of the team. I thought that was actually kind of a nice design choice. But the logos on starters, they bubble, they crease. There isn't really a way to stop them from doing that. Imagine if you keep them out of the dryer, which was not something that I worried about when I had these jerseys initially. I used to love to put my jerseys in the dryer, knowing they dried faster, and if it was cold out, I just throw a jersey in the dryer, whatever jersey was in the washer, throw it in the dryer, and then I could wear that out of the dryer. It was all nice and warm. And eventually I learned I shouldn't be throwing those in the dryer. The jersey that taught me that was my Quebec Nordiques, when the fleur-de-lis around the bottom, which were just vinyl, started bubbling and falling off. And I was like, oh, that's from the dryer. Learned too late, and now I've had to replace both Quebec Nordique jerseys, blue and white. But starter jerseys, they end up looking rough. They really do. So starter jerseys that I have in my collection, I've tried to replace them with CCMs where I can. And the CCM logos just seem to be better. better made. CCM is still my favorite of all the jersey manufacturers, but they lost the contract. So classic jerseys now are basically, well, do you want a Fanatics? And if your answer is no, then you kind of have to go and search and hunt and find them. Sports K still has a lot of the CCM jerseys, although their vintage collection keeps shrinking because CCM's not making them anymore. But starter, I've really changed my mind. I used to love starter jerseys; they were so comfy, but the logos just don't age well. My original Orca jersey, the Orca, Yvonne had to take it off completely and put it back on. It's just the way that they're made. They're not going to wear very well or for very long. So, there's an interesting story behind this. So, when it comes to some of the jerseys I don't have in my collection, the reverse retro has filled in the gaps nicely, and this is a good example of how. Back in the late 90s, I easily could have gotten the Wild Wing, the green one. I could have got it for $50. I could have got the Tampa Bay Storm jersey. I could have got a Nashville Predators mustard tiger jersey. All of those were jerseys I looked at and went, those are just hideous. I'm not buying that. There's no way. As a collector, over the years, I've learned, that was actually not thinking ahead. That was me not thinking ahead. Where I was like, well, if I want a Ducks jersey, I'd rather have, and I got the eggplant, the original jersey of theirs, right? The eggplant colored one. Rather than saying, you know what, the Wild Wing, nobody else has that. And so I might as well get the Wild Wing while it's on sale at this store here, and nobody wants it. It was the same with the Boston Bruins, the Paddington Bear jersey. Nobody wanted it. Everybody hated it. And now it's expensive. And I've really come around on the fact that we sometimes take the sport too seriously. I think with the new deal signed with TNT and the idea that maybe it's going to be more fun, the presentation of the league, I think that's for the best. And while they only wore these twice this year, and I'm guaranteeing the players felt kind of ridiculous when they looked at each other wearing these. And I don't know that they have a future in game. I think it'll just be this year. They only wore them twice. And so it's possible we never see these on the ice again. But it's still good to have it in the collection. And when I think back, it's like, why didn't I understand that the ugly ones, eventually there'd be a time where those might, be the ones people want. A good example now is the Buffa Slug for Buffalo. So Buffalo fans, of course, they're not a fan of the Buffa Slug and all that. But that jersey, if you search for Buffalo jerseys, eventually it's going to be harder to find. And eventually somebody somewhere is going to say, it wasn't really that ugly. It wasn't, or that was so ugly. I'd love to see them wear that one more time. And as crazy as that might sound right now, the idea that the Ducks would ever wear this again, as recently as a decade ago, was absolutely on nobody's minds. There was no way the Ducks would ever wear this again. The idea that they'd reverse the colors and wear it, there's no chance. And then they did. So never rule that out. I remember when Arizona, Phoenix at the time, when the Coyotes came in and the Kachina jersey, and everybody had a collective, what the hell is that logo supposed to be, kind of reaction to it. And over the years, we learned to like the Kachina, and now Arizona's gone back to it as their primary home jersey, and nobody's complaining. Well, almost nobody. There's always going to be somebody who complains no matter what. But there's always somebody who's going to say, the Montreal logo and jersey is kind of boring, isn't it? And then, of course, you want to run when you say something that ridiculous. But, yeah, I've grown to enjoy some of the uglier and the odder jerseys in the NHL's history, which is weird because I always liked the Flying V in Vancouver. You would think that always having liked the Flying V, I would have more of an open mind with the jerseys, but I didn't. Again, it's that I have sort of a reverse cranky old man thing going where my personality seems to be getting less and less cranky as I get older. Even on the channel, I've become less cranky than I was at the start of it. So things change. So as sort of an add-on to that as well, that does mean that when a jersey comes out now and you see me do a video and go, this is ugly, it does mean that I'll buy it. It means I'll buy it because I know that eventually that jersey is going to be rare and somebody somewhere is going to go, wow, you're wearing that? I think kind of like that. Or where can I buy that? My answer is I don't know. Nobody has it anymore. The Nashville Predators Winter Classic is going to be an example of that, where eventually it's just not going to be around anymore. And then people who said, well, I don't like it, are going to be like, well, wait, I haven't seen that in a long time. So, yeah. That's the way that works. All right, so we're through the jersey part, but this is like just an overall thing. And now you guys are going to get to watch me write. Yes, with my left hand. My arm still hurts. Uh, it does. It still hurts today, and I end up with a headache. But hey, it's all right. It's good. All right, number one, and this is more of an as I've gotten older, and especially when I'm watching all the hockey. But it's something I see a lot online. NHL players don't suck. They don't. Because the worst NHL player, the absolute worst NHL player you can throw out there is still going to school people mostly in the AHL, definitely at junior level. They're still at the highest talent level in the league, or the highest talent league in the world. And I think there's really no argument with that as while the KHL has made great strides over the last 10 years, and there's some really good leagues in Europe, NHL is still the cream of the crop. And so NHL players don't. And at this, again, over the last 5 years, I've really changed a lot of my opinions on just in general, just players in general. You might have seen me put up a video 5 years ago. These players suck. These players suck. This guy isn't very good. I might have said it in the video. This guy's not very good. And now I'll mention when a guy is guilty of a turnover, and I'll mention when a guy's having a rough time. But I also acknowledge that sometimes it's surroundings, sometimes it's the situation, the players in a situation where they're not likely to succeed. Maybe it's a coach that doesn't get them. Maybe it's they're with the wrong line. I understand, and so I don't say that players suck, and I know that's very common online. I know, and just on the internet. But the other thing I've learned over the last 5 years is, so when I started doing this 5 years ago, it never occurred to me anybody would watch anything I posted on the internet. And I still make videos as if nobody ever will. I still make videos as if nobody's going to watch this. I've done videos where the title is nothing to see here, and then a bunch of people watch it, and I'm like, the title says don't watch it, and people are like, don't tell me what to do. So yeah, and the they might watch part also includes players. It includes players, it includes people from organizations, and it's weird because to me, I am a hockey fan who has a hockey channel that's grown to, just mind-numbing numbers. I can't grasp it. I really can't. But the idea that they might be watching is on my mind at all times now. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to call a team out if I don't think they're playing well. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to give an honest opinion, but it means that I have to approach it as if they may very well see what I'm doing. And I know it was about a year into me doing videos like this where I started finding out from people, hey, did you know that this player watches your videos? And I'm like, he does? Yeah. And then they would record proof where they asked a player, so you watch the hockey? Yeah, I watch him. Do you want to say hi? Yeah, I'll say hi to him. Holy crap, he watches my, oh, wow. And I remember I was, Yvonne and I were already together at the point where I started finding this out, and it threw me off. It was one thing to have people approach me in public. Like yesterday, we got the AstraZeneca vaccine locally. The area I'm in is considered a hotspot. That's why we got it. But coming out, somebody who's apparently a subscriber stops me in the parking lot. Now, I had the mask on and I'm wearing a Def Leppard t-shirt, so it's the voice. And I've had that before where I'm walking around, somebody doesn't see me, but they hear the voice and they go, hey, that's the hockey guy over there. Yeah, I know. And it, again, it's always humbling, and it always reminds me, yeah, there's people who are watching. So I still approach every video as if it's just me talking to a webcam and nobody's going to watch this. But in the back of my mind, I have to approach it as if they are. And over the years, I also adjusted it. So I was like, if little kids are watching my videos, cut out the swearing, cut out a lot of the other stuff, and just, approach it. It's the voice and tone that I always referred to as like my granny, my granny personality. When I used to hang around with my grandmother, who was 4'10", 90 pounds, and you didn't want to make her angry because there was a lot of anger and frustration to make up for her being that small. But when I was around her, there was no swearing. You had to watch what you said, and I was always very respectful of that. So when I was around her, my personality was different than it was when I wasn't around her. If I was around my friends at high school, but when I was at Granny's house, there's certain behavior. So when I'm making videos, I kind of at one point went, okay, just pretend it's your grandmother you're talking to. Just, make sure that you're staying in the realm of things you would have said when your grandmother was around. And sadly, she's no longer around. She passed on 7 years ago. But I keep that thought in my mind at all times. And from a YouTube perspective as well, it's good because all the profanity that you might see on other channels, it might get videos suppressed. It might get videos so they're age gated. And it also means that for families, they might be like, well, I don't really want my kids watching those channels because those channels have, this content in them. But this channel over here is okay because he's not, I don't know why little kids would care about watching any of the videos I post. But hey, I watched astronomy shows when I was 7 or 8 years of age that nobody else my age cared about. So I used to watch the Knowledge Network as a kid, and they had all these great astronomy shows that put everybody else to sleep. And I would just be fascinated and just riveted to the screen at all times while they were having this whole lecture for like an hour and a half about black holes. And I'd be like, this is great. And basically, black holes, if you don't know, neither do they. So it's basically an hour and a half, and at the end of it, an astronomer's going to look at you and go, well, we think anyways, we're not sure. They're still trying to figure it out. It's out there. We know it's out there. How does it work? I don't know. Does it break the laws of physics? Yep. Do we know how? Not really. Do we understand it? No, but here's 2 hours on what we don't understand. And it's fascinating the whole way to me, whereas it might put everybody else to sleep. That's just fine because my videos put people to sleep, so it all works out. And then last on the list here, and this actually kind of goes in here too, but not really. So I was guilty of this too, especially when the channel started out. So who's the bust going to be? Who's going to bust? Yesterday, one of the reporters I follow on Twitter, she posted about how in scouting reports she finds it weird that scouts will say somebody has a lot of talent and they look like they're going to make it in the league. And I believe as a football player she's talking about in this. I would imagine that's the scouting report. But you see it in every sport. And you'll see high skill level could be great, but has a really high chance of busting. And I said it's kind of like hedging. And the idea that if you can be the guy that says, I think that guy's going to be a bust, and then you're right, then, you kind of look like you really know what you're talking about. But if you also throw in there, this guy has a high chance of busting, but he could be awesome, well, you're covered. And I think there's times where scouting services will kind of make sure that they're covered. Where maybe they do think this guy will bust, but they also go, you know what? But we don't want to end up being wrong later, so they'll hedge. Now, for me, I was quick to label players as busts, and that goes back to when I was in my teens back in the 1840s. It was right after the War of 1812. Actually, I was still a teenager, and then it skipped. We lost 30 years, but it had a lot to do with calendars and Greeks, and I don't want to get into it. But yeah, busts are it's really, really popular and it's always been popular to try to label this guy's the next bust. I just don't do it anymore. I don't. I will talk about how certain players, it's going to be difficult for them, and maybe it's not going to work out. A good example recently would be Casey Middlestad, where I thought, yeah, it looks like he may end up busting at the NHL level, or at the very least, I thought if he's going to make it, it probably won't be in Buffalo. And now, right now, for the last few weeks, he's looked like a keeper. He's looked great. And it's possible that he figures this out and starting next year, he's really good. And then there's the fact, too, that there are players who reinvent themselves at the NHL level to make themselves important. So while they may never reach their full potential, they still become important players in the league. And so I can't really label them as a bust. If you are playing in the NHL, you don't suck. And if you were able to keep your job in the NHL, that's also true. And I have a hard time labeling him as a bust. I think in order to be a true bust, you never make the NHL. You don't take that next step. And And 5, 6, 7 years later, when you're looking at the draft list, you go, oh, that guy got taken 6th overall. Did he even play? What happened to him? That to me then is a bust. But there you go. So 5 jersey things that my opinion's kind of changed on, and 3 overall. So what's changed your opinion over the last, what, I'm saying 5 years? In the case of all of this, I'd say 5 years. Yeah, that works. Sure. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What's changed your mind? Maybe a player's changed your mind. Maybe a guy that you used to think was going to be great, he's not. Maybe a player you used to think was going to be great, he's, you know. And it can go either way. Sometimes the great players become not so great, and the not so great players become fantastic. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and do hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. I will talk to you again soon.